Welcome to Yin Yoga, Yin restorative practice. My name is Kathy, and for Yin, we will be much closer to the ground. We will use less muscular effort and try to get into more of the subtleties in the body, into the connective tissue rather than the muscle tissue. So feel free to, or be sure to listen to your body, and you're going to want to have plenty of props around to support and boost yourself and fill some spaces. So if you have a couple of pillows, that can be helpful. If you do have a bolster, wonderful, have that with you. But if not, a good thick pillow should be able to do the trick. If you have blocks or something that you can improvise with, you can have that nearby. You might even have a variety of pillows, something that's just a different size. And also a blanket or 2 or 3 would be useful. So we are going to start by coming into melting heart pose. So we'll arrive on our hands and knees. And it can be useful to pad your knees because we'll be here for a little bit. So if you have that blanket, tuck it under. If not, you can always give your mat a little roll up for some extra support for yourself. And then you'll arrive with your knees under your hips. And then you might also want a pillow nearby for this. Maybe one for under the chest, possibly one for under the head, or possibly a block for that. So it'll look like slowly coming into the pose. Trying to tune out these very friendly kitties. If you can, bring your forehead down to the mat with your arms stretched out ahead of you, still having your hips above your knees. If the head doesn't go comfortably to the mat, find a blanket or a block rather, or something similar, and rest it there. You might also tuck a blanket or a pillow or a folded blanket under your chest and support that way. You can play with the height of what you have, so the chest can settle onto a pillow, as well as the head on a prop. Or again, it can go down to the mat if it goes there comfortably. Your arms could stretch out ahead of you, and your elbows could soften down. Feel for, in this position, trying to keep your hips from sinking way back, a little bit of a lift in them, and then release through the back. Release through the shoulders. Rest the head somewhere. Try to relax through the feet. And just begin to breathe. Quite often I might lift my head up when I'm talking so you can hear me, but you can stay there with your head down. Your back can arch in this pose. You can always tuck your toes under if that feels more helpful for you, or leave the tops of the feet grounded. If you have tension in your shoulders, go ahead and walk the arms out a bit wider to release that. Begin to breathe through your nose for both your in-breath and your out-breath. Feel for allowing your breath to become a little slow, a little deep, as we start to sink into the pose. Consciously observe the body. And notice where you might be able to release a bit more, where you might be able to surrender, to settle. We'll hold most poses for 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the pose. So really take your time. If the chest is on a bolster, try to release it into it. Notice if there's anywhere you can soften a bit. And even keep the muscles in your face relaxed. If your forehead goes comfortably to the mat, just be sure you're not feeling any strain in the neck. If so, go ahead and elevate it on a prop. Feel for becoming mindful of your body. Where are you feeling sensations? Where might you be able to surrender a bit more, to relax a little more deeply? And let's take just a few more breaths here, letting the heart sink down in the chest, release. One breath. You can use an inhale and slowly come to lift the head and chest back up. Coming onto hands and knees, you could scooch that prop out of the way, whatever you have there, slide it off to the side, but keep it nearby. We're gonna have the arms open a bit here. Knees are under the hips. You can still pad those knees behind you. Gently step your right foot forward, walking it up between your hands. You can use your right hand to scooch it up. Turn the right toes outward, pointing them toward the right side of your mat. And then bring your right hand inside the right foot. And then gently, you might walk your hands a little forward and come to bend into your right knee. You can turn those toes outward. You might even find more weight resting on the outer part of your right foot. If you can, the foot can flatten, but if you need a little release, lift the inner part of the foot up to find that. That left leg might step back a little behind you. Gently either leave the hands where they are, or if you have blocks, bring them nearby underneath of your hands. You could either rest palms on your blocks. A little lift can be helpful if you're feeling a lot of tightness in the hips. Or you might rotate your blocks and come down onto your forearms if that is available to you. Find something that you can hold and then relax the head down. If you are on blocks, you might interlace your fingers or just let those hands hang and rest. Drop the head and neck down. And start to breathe. Notice where you're feeling this in your body. Try to notice if you feel your muscles beginning to engage. If so, could you relax them? If you do find that you go a bit too deep, know that you can always back off. Even in your yin or restorative practice, listening to your body and honoring whatever it requests. The muscles and the tendons are relaxed, effortless, allowing for you to get into the deeper connective tissue and the fascia. You can always rotate the height of your blocks. If you're able to go a little further, support that. Or if the forearms go comfortably to the mat, you can find that. See if you can notice any hidden spaces in the body as you allow the hips to surrender for a bit longer. Check in and acknowledge where you might be able to ease up a bit. And take just a few more breaths in this pose. Staying connected with your breath, allowing it to create a nice meditative focus for you. Let's go for one more, nice and slow, nice and calm. Take your time coming out of the pose by planting your hands down if they're not. You can slide those props out ahead of you. Let the palms be flat and step the right leg back. Take your time supporting its way back to the blanket. And then we're going to switch sides. So that left foot stepping forward in your own time. If you need to, find that ankle and walk it up. Turn the left toes slightly outward, maybe even at the edge of your mat or a bit off of it. And then rest your palms down. You could come right onto blocks if you know that you want them and that lift is helpful to you. Keep that right leg long behind you and gently bend into that knee. Gently sink the hips forward. And just take a breath as you begin to find the pose. And then be mindful of where you might like to go within the pose. Maybe you stay up high with your head and neck relaxed. Maybe you walk those forearms down onto a block or a prop, rotating the height as needed. And releasing through the head. And breathing. Feel free trying to notice where you feel blood flowing, where you feel energy, prana, or chi moving in and out around the body, throughout the body. Could you resist less? Remembering that you could let that left foot roll toward the outer edge to create a little release here. or keep the foot flat. Notice if your muscles are wanting to activate. If so, relax them. Even backing off if you need to. Relaxing the shoulders and the neck. Feel for finding just a few more breaths here. Let's take one more. You could gently release your hands down if they're not, with those props a bit forward. Coming back onto your palms. And then stepping that leg back behind you. So you're on your hands and knees again. And then slowly we'll sit back for child's pose. So you could bring your big toes toward each other and let your heels or your knees draw out slightly. Sink your hips back. If the hips don't want to go all the way toward the feet, then take a blanket and tuck it between the legs here, or a pillow, whatever feels right. And then slowly, once you've figured that out, start to release forward. And again, you can have a prop here to rest your head. You might tuck a pillow right underneath you and fold over. The arms can be stretched out in front, the elbows can be soft, the shoulders heavy. If you have a pillow and it doesn't bring your head comfortably onto the mat or the floor, then just turn to one cheek. And I'll let you know when to turn to the opposite cheek. You can play with your props, rotate them around and find what supports you. Allow your hips to surrender, as well as your chest, your heart. Always an option to close the eyes in this practice. If you happen to have your head on a cheek, go ahead and turn it to the opposite cheek. And we'll settle here a bit longer. Let's take a few more breaths. Trying to stay patient in the pose. As you observe without judgment. The next time that you inhale, slowly start to sit back up. You can slide that bolster, pillow, whatever you had, out of the way for now. If you had something tucked under those hips, scooch it off to the side. It can be helpful here. We're going to go into frog pose. So you might want to take the blanket that you have or some support and open it a bit wider. Lay it across your mat so it hangs off both sides. And then again, come back into child's pose with your toes together and your knees wide. And now walk your hands a bit forward and lift your hips up. Try to lift your hips up until they're in line with the knees. And your hands are just about under your shoulders. And now walk your knees out. Let them slide out as far as they'd like to. And then slowly lower down to forearms. From here, open your feet so they're in line right behind your knees and continue to release. Feel free to find a bolster or pillow and tuck it under your whole chest and belly and rest on them. You might turn one forearm parallel to the front of your mat and rest your cheek on it, and then stretch the other arm straight out ahead of you. Begin to breathe here. If your knees slipped off that padding, you can always scooch something else under, then make sure everything is supported. Where could you surrender more? Notice where you feel openness in your body. Staying present with the sensations you're discovering, while not feeling too much of a need to attach to them. Just noticing, acknowledging that what you're finding might be interesting without judging it or giving it value. If you had your hand on one forearm, then switch. Lift your head, stretch your other arm out, bend the other forearm in so it's sort of parallel to the front of your mat, and turn your head to the opposite cheek. Feel for releasing the pelvis as well as the hips. Find a few more breaths here. Trying to go beyond effort and just settle, just surrender, sink in. One breath. To release this, gently bring your feet back toward each other. Press into your hands and lift up. Lift up your chest and slowly walk the knees inward. And once your knees are inward, you can slide that prop off to the side. You can keep a little support under your knees if you'd like, but come forward to lie on your belly. Lie on your belly here with your forearms grounded, your shoulders right above your elbows. And gently lift up through the chest and have a little tuck in your chin. Try to allow your back to release, to settle. And allow the heart to open and sink forward. Legs are relaxed behind you, knees are relaxed. Soften through the buttocks and the hips, as well as the belly. Allowing the heart, the chest to melt forward in its own time. Notice the areas that are making contact with the floor, most of the body, grounding you, holding you close to the earth, keeping you cool. Feel for breathing as the chest surrenders forward and the muscles in the back release. For just a little while longer. Take 3 more breaths here, nice and slow. I'm just going to let out this very loud cat that likes to go outdoors, but not before I start class. Stay there in Sphinx pose. I'll be right back. Another breath. Good, exhale. And slowly lower your body down, lying flat on your belly and stretching your arms straight by your sides. Turn your head onto your right cheek. Take a deep breath. Turn your head to your left cheek. Take another breath. Let the weight of the body settle down as you breathe. And then lift the head up. Bring your right forearm out ahead of you so that it's resting parallel to the front of your neck. And then press into it and turn your body onto your right side. I find it useful to pad underneath the right hip, so that might work for you as well. So you're resting on the right forearm. We're gonna bend the lower leg, the right leg, bend it behind you. So that foot comes back toward the buttocks. Reach back with your left hand and see if you can find that right ankle. If you find it, wonderful. If you have a strap or something to wrap around it and help you find it, that's great as well. That left foot might kick off a little forward toward the bottom left corner of your mat. So option to stay right here. Lift it up on your forearm with a gentle gaze dropping toward that left shoulder. If you have further to go in this pose, you might explore stretching your right arm straight out in front of you. So to do so, you might bring that left hand back in front of you again, and then extend that right arm long, coming to rest on your cheek, through the back of your head, and again, reach the left hand back and find that ankle. So you'll kind of twist and settle onto the right shoulder, and then you could turn your gaze back to that left shoulder. And breathe. And again, you can stay up on the forearm, support your body as needed. If it feels nice for you, you could kick that back hand or that back foot a little away from you to help draw that left shoulder back, but then drop it down. Relax into the pose. This one's called cat pulling its tail. Breathe here. Try to let the back elbow, that left elbow, stay soft. Relax that left foot. Relax the knees. Notice where you might be able to ease a bit more into the pose, to let go of any muscular effort. Continuing to surrender. Observing the subtleties in your body. Remain here, connecting with your breath as you release, inviting openness into the connected tissue. Inviting openness into some of the mystery in the body. Another breath. Gently release that right ankle if you have it, and straighten the right leg out. Bring the left leg back on top of it. Bring your left hand around to the floor and let it lift you slightly. So you slide that right arm back and come onto your belly again. And again, you might have a blanket under the hips. We're going to stretch the right arm straight out at shoulder level, out to the right. Have your left hand rest on the floor next to you, right cheek on the mat. Press into your right, or your left hand rather, and again, roll onto your side, your right side, so that right shoulder is tucked underneath you, that arm is straight. Bend the left knee and step it to the floor behind you, behind the right leg. Good. Coming into starfish pose. You might keep your left hand where it is, or you might bring it on to the left hip, or possibly just rest with a bent elbow, the back of the palm just hanging behind your back, finding the floor somewhere that it can settle. If you need a little support, you could tuck a blanket or something or a block underneath of your head. Breathe. Good, stay there. That right palm is down behind you. Make any adjustments that you might need to support your body. Feel for relaxing here through the shoulder, the right shoulder. And relaxing through that left hip. Where could you soften a bit? Observe the body. Directing a little attention to where you feel release, where you feel yourself let go, surrender. A few more breaths here. Great, one more breath. Gently bring that left hand back to the floor if you swept it behind you. And then slowly bring that left leg in and roll on to your belly again. And then once you're on your belly here, we're gonna set up for cat pulling its tail on the opposite side. So take that moment to have a blanket under your hips if you'd like. And then you'll cross the left forearm ahead of you. So it's parallel to the front of your mat. Your right arm can stretch out in front of you. And we're going to come to roll on to the left side of the body. I'll show you from this angle for just a moment. And then bend your left knee. I'm sorry, your right knee. No, your left knee. And reach back with your right hand. See if you can find a grip on it. Kick that right foot a bit away from you, out toward the bottom far corner of your mat. Maybe you stay lifted here with a soft gaze toward that right shoulder, relaxing that elbow. Maybe you bring that right hand back to support a release where your left arm now straightens out. And then again, reach back for that ankle and come to rest on the head. Try to relax the elbow and the shoulder and breathe. Always knowing that you can prop back up on top of that left forearm. Otherwise, staying here. If the neck feels tense at all, gazing slightly to the right, you can always turn it into the left or keep it a bit at neutral. Try to observe the shoulders and the back and relax in. If it feels nice, you might draw that right foot, again, left foot a bit away from you, that bottom foot, the ankle you have. If you don't have that ankle, if it's not available, it's fine. You can just bend it and bring the hand and the foot as close as they can get. Feel for softening through both of your legs. Might you be able to let go a bit more? Feel for trying to find your edge and just reside there. Just breathe there. Without pushing further, without backing off. Just surrendering in. And 2 more breaths. You can release that right hand from the ankle. Bring it back to the floor. And then straighten that left leg and come back onto your belly. Once you arrive on your belly, you again might have some padding under your hips. Stretch your left arm out this time at shoulder level with the palm down. And then bring your right hand to the floor, elbow lifted, hand under the shoulder. Press into your right hand and roll onto your left side. Bend your right knee and place it to the floor behind you. That left leg can stay straight but relax. And maybe that right hand goes behind the back, just resting somewhere it's comfortable. Maybe it rests on your right hip and the elbow drops back. Breathe here. I'm going to turn the other way. You can stay in that pose. Starfish.
And again, you might rest something under the head. If it is a little tight through the shoulder and the neck, then go ahead and support your head. Try to let that right knee sort of fall off to the right, just relaxing the muscles. If we're closing the eyes and observing within, if we're discovering some hidden spaces in your body, notice if you begin to grip or grasp anywhere. And if so, gently soften those areas. A few more breaths here. Surrendering right at your edge. And then holding it while you breathe, while you stay present. A couple more. Take your time and bring the right arm back to the mat. Bring that right leg around and come on to your belly again slowly. And now once you're on your belly here, you're just gonna roll right onto your back. You can slide that blanket out to the side, but keep it nearby. We might need it for something else. Once you come onto your back here, let your legs be straight. With the legs straight, have the head gently relaxed. And we'll just bring the right knee in toward the chest. Feel for taking a grip on the right foot if you can, coming into a half happy baby pose. So if you're able, the right foot is coming to the hand is coming to the outer edge of your right foot. And you're just gently relaxing the shoulder down, that knee down. If you have a strap or something that you can grip, use that here, a tie or a sock. Anything you can improvise with. Try to relax that left leg. If you don't have a strap, you can always hold somewhere else on the leg. And breathe. Let that right knee fall to the right of the hip, open and settle. Notice where you might be able to relax a bit more. And try to do so. Where could you surrender in this position? Take a few more breaths here, going beyond effort. And one more breath. Very gently, release the calf toward the hamstring and lower the right foot down and just straighten the leg out. And we'll switch sides. Bring the left knee in, bend it in close to the chest and feel for finding grip on that foot and then working to lift it up toward the ceiling. If you can grip it and keep it a little bent, that's okay too, and slowly working toward raising it without force. Have the head relax in a neutral position and breathe. Again, you might use a strap. You might grip whatever you can, clothing or ankle, but try to gently drop the shoulder, the left shoulder down, drop the left knee down. Try to relax the right leg. You might even tuck a blanket or a pillow under that right knee. If it has a nice bend in it, you could support that space. Breathe. Let's take just a few more breaths. One more. You could gently release that left foot back toward the body and then relax a hand from it, straighten out the leg. Slide that blanket out from under your knee if you put it there. And then just bring both knees into your chest. See if you could draw them toward you. And then let the shoulders drop down. Take a couple breaths around. And stay here for a moment or so, just holding those knees toward you with soft shoulders. Head neutral. Relax the feet. With the weight of the arms, the heaviness in your arms, just draw the legs down. Feeling the back surrender into the mat, the earth. Sink in for 2 more breaths. Gently roll onto your side and use one of your hands to push yourself up to a seat.
And then when you come to sit up here, have your legs stretched out straight ahead of you. And we'll take one final pose before Shavasana. So legs straight. Have some props nearby, a couple pillows, maybe, or a bolster, maybe your blanket as well. And then we're going to have the hands next to the body. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, slowly start to fold for your legs or toward your legs. Relax your feet. And then use those props to rest over the legs so that you can fully surrender. Your arms might hang heavy by your side. You can have more than one prop, whatever you need to support that full release. It might be an extra pillow. It might be a couple of blocks piled up. And then you could turn the head to one cheek or the other. Let the legs relax, the feet relax, and just let your arms hang. Palms could be up or down. But soften the shoulders, soften the elbows, and breathe. Make sure you feel supported. If not, add a bit more props to do so. I find it useful to tuck my thumbs under my outer calves. It just feels like a nice way to ground the hands and really let the weight of the legs sort of draw you down toward the earth. Take a conscious moment to scan your body. And if you notice yourself tensing up, engaging muscles, let it go. Could you surrender a bit more? Sometimes it involves adjusting your props. If you're doing so, feel free to accommodate that. If your head is on one cheek, turn it to the opposite cheek and surrender here. Continue to foster release with every breath. Noticing those subtle sensations without any judgment. Noticing the flow of energy, of blood through the body, prana. And take a couple more breaths.
You can lift your head up. If you have those hands under the legs, your thumbs, lift them in and slowly walk back up. Slide those props off to the side. And from here, come to lie flat on your back for Shavasana or resting pose. Now, as you lie back, let's suggest that you rest your legs on a bolster, a rolled blanket, or a pillow. Place that under the knees. And let the legs be slightly wider than the hips. And the knee or the feet flop out to the side. Your arms could be wide, your palms could be up. Have the head in a neutral position. If you have a folded blanket, it might be nice to rest it right over the hips or the pelvis. Just really allowing it to naturally weight the body down, continuing to connect you with that yin energy, that more groundedness, drawing you deeper toward the earth. Try to relax down through the shoulders and just fully surrender in your resting position. Allowing time to absorb all the benefits from your practice. I will sit up to guide you through, but make yourself comfortable. Notice here as everything lets go. Let your breath be more natural, less exaggerated if it was. And try to close the eyes, having the attention fully inward. With every exhale, that slight observation, noticing as the body becomes heavier. Observe that. You might feel tingly sensations in some deep spaces. Observe that. Be sure that your feet and your legs are relaxed. Your hips and your pelvis. Your belly, your chest, and your back. Arms hanging heavy, hands relaxed. Shoulders grounded. Neck and muscles in the face, soft, heavy. Relax with the back and top of your head. And feel for just settling into stillness, just surrendering to stillness. As the weight of your body sinks fully into the earth. Letting the earth just support you, hold you. Resting in deep relaxation for several moments.
Very slowly, take a deeper breath into your belly, just to invite some energy back into the body, some energy back onto your life force as it flows through you. You might gently turn your head from side to side. You can keep the eyes closed, but just become aware of what you're feeling around you, what you're hearing around you. You could give your fingers a wiggle and your toes. You can rotate the wrists and the ankles. Bring your palms together above your heart center and rub them. Bring the soles of your feet together and rub them. Feel energy, a little movement within as you rub hands and feet. And then inhale to stretch your arms up over your head, straighten your legs long. You might scoot that bolster out from under you if it's there, and take a full body stretch from fingers to toes. And then exhale, bend your knees and elbows and roll onto the right side of your body, resting your head in your elbow crease. And pause on your side here. Pause with your eyes closed if you can, or your gaze soft. And just thank yourself for that practice of surrendering today. Acknowledging how much easier it is to surrender when you have support. And find a slow breath as you just draw some gratitude within, gratitude for your practice, for your body, your mind, and your spirit. And then press into your left hand and whatever else you might need to make your way up to a seat. And just settle into a seat that is comfortable for you. Once you're there, bring your palms together at your heart or just rest them over it, honoring the heart space. I'm going to close with a mantra I like to end practices with that simply means, may all beings on all planes be free and happy. I'll chant that 3 times in Sanskrit, followed with a short Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, peace, peace, peace. Long spine here. Deep breath in. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I prefer to end all practices with Namaste, which honors the divinity that lives within us all. Namaste. And thanks again for joining me. I hope you have a peaceful rest of your day.